Welcome in post-game show. Sherrod Blakely live from the Garden in the press room, I believe. Celtics just beat the Knicks to go back to 500. Yay! This is a fun ride. Nick, everyone's got problems. Everyone's got roster issues. Knicks are so depleted. They had to play Kemba Walker. Oh my God, the horror. And Kemba had a great game. Somebody tweeted something I thought super funny, like really spot on. Kemba, this was the Kemba revenge game against both teams, which I think is appropriate because he's been a DNP CD for I don't know how long. Thibodeau won't play him, dusts him off. He comes out, puts a 30 burger on the Celtics. Not enough. Celtics win 114-107 in what became the Rich and Pritch show. Josh Richardson, Peyton Pritchard off the bench, massive contributions. Celtics again, no Romeo. Al is out. Grant is out. They signed a guy and suited up today. And this was a pretty good effort on a back-to-back at home, all things considered.
Yeah, you got to feel good about the fact that you got the win. But I just thought that there were too many stretches where they got back into some bad habits. There was a little too much ISO basketball. I love what we saw against Milwaukee where the ball movement was spectacular. Did not see them that crisp. But again, at where they're at in the season, getting wins is what it's about. Just finding ways to get wins, and they did that. And again, as you pointed out earlier, Kemba was very vintage Kemba out there, and they were able to withstand that and come out with the victory. So all things considered, this was a good night for the Celtics.
Okay, people are saying this was a horrible win.
There's no such thing when you're a 500 team.
You're a 500 team. You're playing in a back-to-back. And you're down a bunch of players. And the Knicks were better than you last year. And yes, the Knicks are a train wreck right now, 100%. And so if you want to feel better about yourself as a Celtics fan, you follow along with what's going on in New York. Absolutely. That's great. But this worked. You got what you needed out of tonight. And yes, they blew a lead. And Ime justifiably. They vaporized a 15-point lead in like 2 minutes in the third quarter, and this looked like one of those games that was going to drive you nuts. But it turned out, they turned it back on, and that's what you want to see. You have that lapse, can you turn the Jets back on? You don't want to see it, but they did it. Bobby Manning's trying to get himself settled in here to go, and they win, and we'll take it at this point. And this was the Bobby Manning. This is the Kemba Walker audition for Bobby Manning's trade.
I just like I said before. I like the fact that they found a way to win. This was a game that we've seen them lose so many times this year. But they were able to make the plays they needed to make when they needed to make them. But like I said earlier, the thing I did not like was that it felt that this was so way too much ISO basketball. The ball movement wasn't nearly as crisp. I saw there were too many stretches where I saw Jason Tatum in the game and Jaylen Brown on the bench and vice versa. I don't like seeing that. I like to see them playing more together. And obviously, Jaylen, they're being careful with the back-to-back and his hamstring. I totally get that. But there's just some bad habits that this team is still guilty of that I thought propped themselves up in this game. And if it were a better team, they would probably have not won this game. But to their credit, they did exactly what they needed to do to beat a team that they should have beat.
Yeah. Bobby Manning will bring you in. Where do you want to start? You want to start with Kemba or you want to start with Jay Rich?
I'll start with Richardson. We haven't talked a ton about him this year, but it's become a sensational season, a great move that they put together, bringing him in here and making him such a sure thing off the bench and making me forget about Evan Fournier, even with the performance that Fournier had here. It made it tough to forget Fournier, but
Did you just say
I thought Richardson was
Fournier?
better.
That was your guy.
I think I decided somewhere in the first half that
that's it.
I was probably wrong about Fournier.
Done. Bobby's pulling the plug on that. Wow.
Yeah, he's been so bad for the Knicks, and he comes out huge here. But I can't get over how he ended this game. Falling on his ankle, rolling around, forcing Kemba to do that take foul that knocked him out of it, and then just getting up and finishing it out. That was just such a blunder by the Knicks there. But on Richardson, he saved this game. This would have been a monumental collapse. This would have been one of the worst losses in recent memory for the Celtics, the way this game went in the first half. And he was on the ball in the fourth, doing something that he hasn't done a ton this year in terms of creating, moving inside out. passing and then finding open spaces for himself and shooting so well. I think we all rolled our eyes when Brad and Ime said we think he can get back to being the shooter that he was in Miami, because it seemed like such an anomaly to start his career, the things he was doing down there. Stroke looks pure. We didn't love it early, John. We were talking about how awkward and hitched it looked early this season, and now he's just hitting everything.
Well, they dared him to shoot all game. They let him. Yeah, they let him. They wanted him to shoot it, and he did, and he made him pay. But it's the mid range. He's still, you know what it is with Richardson though? Confident. He's confident to take those shots.
Yeah, he finds his spots.
And with a lot of things, those back-to-back in the first half, those drives with the scoop with the right and then the scoop with the left, like that's a confident scorer's move that he made in each of those situations. And you're right, he jab step, gets to a spot, gets to the elbow, confident to pull up and take that mid-range. So he's doing it with a scorer's mentality. It's not just a guy where a few fell. And right now, you're right. There's a level of consistency here where it's not surprising when it goes in. It's not an anomaly. It's not a fluke. He is playing, confident offensive basketball, albeit in a limited role. He's not, this is the most this has to be season high field goal attempts for him. And it's still only 14, so, he's been pretty solid of late, hitting double figures in most games. You got to like what you see here off the bench. I mean, if the team is healthy, being able to count on Richardson to do this sort of stuff we're looking 27, 15, 17, 11, 5. That was in the blowout against Portland, 11, 7, 18, 6, 15, 11. So he's stringing together a lot of, double digit, performances here on limited opportunities. So, good for him, good on him. And obviously bodes well if he can kind of keep it going.
I'm thinking too. Yeah. Great thing that they extended him, right? We're not.
Yeah, he's doing good. Trade him.
Well, it increases his value there, and then if you want to keep him,
he's great.
Around again next year. He's not another guy walking out the door.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Sherrod.
No, I was just going to say that the one thing that he is really, I think, doing exceptionally well is he's figuring what the game needs from him. You don't see him out there trying to force the action. You don't see him trying to do things that are outside of his skill set. He's not a great three-point shooter, but if you leave him wide open, he has every reason to take that shot. In his mid-range game, and I know we've talked about it before, but that to me has been the biggest revelation about his entire game, the fact that he can knock that shot down with such consistency. That has been by far the most consistent part of his game all season long, which none of us really had a sense he could knock that shot down with this kind of consistency because he hadn't done it before.
Yeah, he's scoring at all three levels. Really, he's getting to the rim. He's finding his spot in between, which is good. Ime gives him the leniency to get that shot off, and he made good use of it. I love when he drew 2 free throws on it in the fourth, and another shot from about 18, 20 feet on the stretch here. 4-4 in the fourth. He couldn't miss. He just got to his spots again. And he is a guy who moves. There aren't many of them on this team. I saw it again here, and we'll get to Tatum later. Just a disaster of ball handling from all 3 lead facilitators on this team in this one. Richardson had to just grab the ball from them late, get to his spots, get the ball swinging a little bit, and fix the offense. That third was a debacle offensively for this team. Just no one could step up to the plate and make plays on the ball. And Richardson, who hasn't had to do it all year, stepped up and got it done. There was a real nice sequence where he got to Nesmith. Nesmith got inside to Cantor, who got trapped. And I think Richardson reset himself in the left corner there for a 3. That's about as good a movement as you got in all the second half.
Yeah, he had a lot of stretches at both ends of the floor that he was able to string together. He had the one where he knocked down a shot, goes back on defense, gets a steal, helps start the transition, and then he finds an open teammate, for basket. Little things like that may not seem like they're huge, but when you're trying to build something like the Celtics are, you need players like him doing those type of things with some kind of consistency. So to your question, to your point, John, now's the time to trade him.
Yeah, now's the time. Sell high. Always do that. Sell high after a game like this. No, it's good stuff. But you're right with the sloppiness with the ball handling. I mean, Jalen obviously it's rust. This looks like a guy who, hasn't played a lot of basketball. Definitely sloppy. Tatum was kind of slinging the ball all over the place. Tatum, back into,
Tatum settling.
It's the settling from those two, and you're right. Richardson saved them. Like, your two stars on the back end of a back-to-back, friggin' jacked 26 threes between them. That's not what you want to see. Those are the games that's the classic back-to-back sort of offense too, right? Where it's like, let's jack a few of these and see if they go in. And if it does, great, we're going to win. And if not, well, I guess it wasn't our night. Let's pack it in. And that's kind of where it felt like it was, it could have gone, but, they took that lead early and then they stretched it out. And again, it's just, you don't get what you get from Richardson and Pritchard tonight. It could have gone badly. Bobby, you've been waiting on Pritchard, so I'll let you talk about it. Because, he can score. We've seen it before, but all season long, he just hasn't looked like himself. What was different tonight?
He had time to develop the rhythm, and you've talked a lot about that, just having the space out there to work through some early struggles, and he did. He was having that same lost in the shuffle look on the ball in that first half. Got a couple shots to go downhill against Kemba there. He was able to beat Kemba off the dribble, which helped. I think that helped everybody in that first half, and got a few shots to go around the basket. That opened himself out from the perimeter area there, and that was pretty much the game for him through half. 13 in the first half. He didn't do a ton in the second half. In fact, I thought he was a detriment trying to sneak those passes into freedom there by Mitchell Robinson. The facilitating for him still has a long ways to go, but the shot came back. I didn't know where it went. I tweeted in the first. I was like, this guy just forgot how to shoot, and then they started raining down, of course. I hope it's here to stay because they're going to need him over the next week or so here to fill in those guard minutes if Schroeder's still sick and misses another game on Monday. That'll be an even tougher matchup for him. But right now, I'm still kind of mild on him. Like it's great he's hitting shots, but I don't think he's overall playing that well right now.
Well, yeah. I think he benefited from what you just touched on, and that is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker, and I love Kemba Walker. I think most of us love Kemba Walker, but he can't defend. He's just a horrible defender. And Pritchard did what you're supposed to do. You attack guys who you know what their weaknesses, and I thought he did that consistently. I thought they, as a team, made a concerted effort to go at Kemba when the opportunities were there, and it paid off. Let's just look at the one stat that we don't talk a lot about, but personal fouls. Only one guy fouled out of this game. That was Kemba Walker.
And they came pretty close to fouling out Fournier too.
Yeah, exactly. Two former Celtics who defense is not their forte. I think it's fair to say.
No.
So again, it's hard for me to get too excited about Pritchard's game, other than the fact that he did a great job of knocking down.
He's alive. That's what we're happy about.
He's alive. Yeah. Look, you're not going to count on big minutes. You just want to be able to get him in there and have him hit some shots. You want it, like I said, the people that can't be regular rotation players have to be specialists when they come in the game and do the thing that they do. And so for Pritchard and theoretically for Nesmith, though it doesn't work because he can't actually shoot. They're supposed to come down and knock down shots. Other guys come in for defense. Cantor comes in for rebounding and, a little bit of offense. And when they don't contribute the thing that they specialize in, their minutes hurt you because they're usually not well-rounded. And, we know this. You're always rolling the dice a little bit with these types of players. And it's usually why they're not starters, because they are somewhat limited in what they can do. So Pritchard, that's what you want. Come in off the bench, knock down some shots. If you get this in 10 and 12 minutes a night from him, great. I mean, not exactly this. This was an excellent effort, but that's what you want to see. But there's been times he comes out there and he does nothing. That's the worst thing, right?
Yeah. He has a tendency to just kind of disappear when he's out there. And when you know that your minutes are going to be limited the way his are, you can't let that happen. You've got to make an impact. To me, the great example tonight was Josh Richardson. I mean, Josh, he wound up playing, over 30 minutes. I guarantee you, Josh Richardson playing more than 30 minutes was not in Ime's plan tonight. But Josh made plays, made shots at both ends of the floor, and thus he got a little bit more room to be out there. And Pritchard, if he wants to have his role expand, he has to do what he's in the NBA to do, which is to knock down open shots.
Hey, I'm I'm not foreseeing that. I think I'm kind of off the Pritchard train a little bit this year. Again, I wasn't all that impressed by anything he did in this one. He just went out and hit a couple jumpers, open ones. That's what he should be doing. That's what Nesmith should be doing for this team when they get in there. Richardson, I'm more than okay with him taking a bigger role here. I don't know if it's starting. I don't know if it's more lead ball handling responsibility.
I'm not. I like him in the show.
I still want to see Romeo kind of be that guy because I liked what we were getting there. I don't want to belittle injuries because you don't know the severity of it, but like I don't know, man. You know, it's just like some people just
needed bodies tonight.
Some people aren't built for this life, you know. And it's beyond. Look, you twist ankles.
It was pain tolerance. Ime said it was.
It's a pain tolerance thing. So it's one thing where you have freakish things where you keep like, you know, twisting ankles and things happen to you. This is friggin' pain tolerance. He should have played last night. He should probably have played tonight. So let's pull it together, man. You got to toughen up. But I hate to go. Look, there's a lot of people in the chat already negative just simply because they thought it was a bad win because they blew a big lead and, you know, they were playing sloppy and the effort was whatever. But I do have to point out again, this was awful, Nesmith. You give him a shot here in that starting lineup. And then last night he missed. We talked about it a little. He didn't knock down all of the open looks that were given to him, but he did do some things with his opportunity. And tonight, what did he do? He was like stealing rebounds from his own teammates, you know, like that. He was trying to win those hustle points sort of things. But I mean, how many times did he snatch a rebound out of one of his teammates' hands? Like a couple. So great. He gets the 7 rebound number. But again, no offense at all. And every time he gets a good look and people create for him, he's missing that open shot. These are not contested shots, and he's missing them. And at a certain point, you're going to have to say, this guy might not be the shooter we thought he was.
The team is calling him Crash Bandicoot. I see that in the chat there. And
that is so not the nickname. That's not a nickname you want if you're a shooter.
No, it's like it's nothing to do with rain.
Right. You want to be called Splash, right?
Something to do with water, right? Not a crazy video game character who's out of control.
Yeah, it's bad, man.
Oh my god. Smart comes in with the black eye yesterday. The pressure, he's like that's Crash Bandicoot. I didn't even see that yesterday where Nesmith crashed into Smart, but I did see Smart's eye like jam close. Whatever happened there. Listen, I like the draft pick. I did. I think we all did. The pedigree was there out of college, and I think we'll see a lot of people in the chat talking about, oh, he only did it in a handful of games. He had 2 good seasons at Vanderbilt. You know, not phenomenal, the 50% shooting that a lot of people pointed to in that last year he had there, but he struggled from 3 early the first year. He was a great rebounder, which we're still seeing here now. Found other ways to score, and then he really lit it up for a stretch of games in that second season there where he was playing. You do just wonder if it was too small of a sample size, and I did say this on draft night against a bad conference. The SEC was a disaster that year, and you're taking in a guy who didn't have a mass. He had a little bit of a volume of three-point shooting, but not this massive volume that you could have hung your hat on in terms of calling him the best shooter in the draft, which clearly was not true. He might redeem himself and become a decent shooter down the line. He certainly did it late last year, 40% or so, but he's not the best shooter in the draft like a lot of people said he was. And frankly, for 14, with the guys that went after him, I don't know what you say, Sherrod, like bust, this or that. I don't know what the exact word is, but it wasn't the wisest guy to pick at 14.
Well, I think the book is still open. The narrative hasn't been fully written about what Nesmith is going to do because, I mean, think about it. We had a guy by the name of Grant Williams who, like, he may be one of the worst long-range shooters in NBA history. And now, lo and behold, he's a 50, 40, 90 candidate, shooting better than 40% from. And there's, to me,
I wouldn't compare them, though.
There's no doubt. Well, what I'm comparing is the fact that one guy went from being a point shooting threat to a pretty good one. And in Nesmith, I think you've got a much better foundation to work with for him to become a better shooter. So that's why I'm not ready to just kind of throw in a towel on him as a good long-range shooter because it's still early in his career.
What's the numbers on his career so far, John? Like 36-ish, I'm guessing? Maybe lower. That's probably the max.
For Grant?
No, for Nesmith.
I'll look it up for you, but Could be
even lower than that.
Mid to third. It's around mid
From 3?
No, for
Yeah.
Nesmith.
From three.
Yep.
Nesmith from
Yeah.
3 is 33% in his career. He's only 25% this year. He shot 37% last year. He's 14 for 55 this year. Not counting tonight, I don't think so. It's lower.
So it's even worse than I thought it was. And he was bad in the playoffs last year, too. Again, he's only a year into his career, but you are seeing teams. Jalen Smith with the Suns, Tyrell Terry with the Mavs, like teams have here, they're starting to give up on some of these guys. I'm not saying give up on Nesmith. In fact, I wrote going into this one, I was pretty excited seeing him join the starting lineup just because of the style that they could play with him out there. And he was good yesterday. Thought he played a good game with some mixed results throughout. Got up good after fouling too much in the first half. And you'd rather see a guy grabbing 7 rebounds
That's what's
than
so
doing
strange.
nothing.
Right? Yes and no. You make that point. What's so funny is like everyone talks about Grant Williams like he was good, he was great in the SEC, 2-time SEC Player of the Year. You know, you should have seen this coming. No one should have seen Grant Williams 3-point shooter coming. No one, because he didn't do it. Not only did he not do it efficiently in Tennessee, he didn't do it at all. He attempted 1 3 a game over his career. It was not a thing that he did. He reinvented himself. And became this guy. Nesmith, and that's supposed to be all he can do, can't do it at all. It's really perplexing, It's really strange. Grant Williams did not shoot threes. Never. Just didn't do it. It's not his thing. And now he's shooting 45%. It's him and Curry, That's it.
And the book on the other stuff with Nesmith was pretty solid. Not a ton of potential in terms of putting on the ball on the floor and going downhill.
Not super athletic. Yeah, exactly.
The defense is a mess. Did you see the play before half where he was just completely lost in space and Burks got to the corner? They almost got burnt on that play on top of everything else. He can't get NBA defense right now. And that's what I don't think people get in terms of him not being able to play at all. You can't be like looking around like this on the defensive end and Alec Burke, who's a phenomenal shooter, is in the corner wide open. That's just ending your night on most nights when your team isn't devastated with COVID. So I don't know like what his role is going to be when you think of how Richardson's playing, with how Langford was playing when he was healthy. This guy's going to go right back to not playing at all. And I don't think you can knock Ime for it.
That's the problem is
it stinks. He played so good yesterday, I thought. It just went right back to nothing here.
You have it's damned if you do, right? You're fighting for wins, and I mean it's a can't win. We talk out of both sides of our mouth with this because it's a problem without really a solution. The only way these guys get better is to play sustained minutes on a nightly basis. But if you do that. If you do that, you're losing it. And we've been talking about Maine for so long. I don't get why Aaron Nesmith.
Well, it's not an option this week.
I know, but Aaron Nesmith needs to be the focal point of an offense somewhere for a little bit of time to get into the flow and play in an environment where you're not sped up so much. He's just a spaz. He's got to slow down and just play basketball. And he can't do it here in these small stints, and the game's just moving too fast for him still. So we've been crying for G League since last year. Like, it is strange at this point. You need all the bodies you have now, but you might have to decide he's going to need about 10 games down there to kind of get himself back. Cause we could use someone like him. But Right now,
Pritchard
it's
too.
tough. Yeah.
Well, the problem with sending him down there is if you had someone like Romeo who you could rely on to be healthy enough to play, you could absolutely send Nesmith down there and it not be a big. But you got to keep them both around because you just never know when you're going to need that 6'6", 6'7" wing out there to just crash the party. That's what Nesmith does.
Yeah, he's just got to play more basketball.
Yeah.
Because you see it, you see some stuff there, and you're like, maybe,
Well, we saw it in the summer. We saw when you have an offense that is primarily geared around him, what he can do, and he was really good. Him and Pritchard, for that matter. So obviously, a different level of competition, but that doesn't change the fact that those guys had an opportunity to be in a system that was geared more around them, and they made the most of it in the summer.
I am shocked that they went from looking that good to this bad. I didn't expect that. You certainly expect a drop off from what they were doing, but to not be able to play at all like both these guys have been for this entire regular season is so disappointing because Sherrod, we were out there. Those were the two best guys. You could probably throw 2 or 3 other guys in that list at Summer League period. They weren't just leading the Celtics to a decent run here. They were dominating teams. So here we are. I don't think they have a role on this team once they're healthy.
Nesmith is the one that surprises me the most because he was with the team for the entire duration this summer. And so it was a natural reality that he would make that transition from success in the summer to success in the regular season. But remember, Pritchard hasn't really been the same player since he left Summer League and dropped 92 in that Pro-Am league and came back. He hasn't been the same dude. I mean,
that's such a good point on Hauser. Hauser looks like a better shooter than him. Just looking at the two of them.
I'm confused how Hauser can't get a look. And again, if
he's got COVID.
I know, but if we're talking in a role of specialists and your shooter can't shoot, bring in another guy who can shoot. You know, like
I thought that was the whole point of having Sam around.
Yeah, that was kind of the point.
Sam's taking 9 threes a game in the G League, shooting 43%. That's just an astounding volume. He's taking 90 threes in 10 games.
Yeah. Do what you do. He knows why he's here. Sam is no dummy. He knows I'm here to be a sniper. And that's what I got to show that I can do.
Yeah.
And he's doing it well.
Yeah. So, any other, and we're going to keep this one relatively short, but, any other, musings or, anything from tonight's game, that stood out to you guys? And again, it really was as simple as Richardson saved their butt, and obviously a good first half performance from Pritchard, helped as well. Anything else you guys didn't like tonight?
Kind of indifferent about Rob. I mean,
I kind of like this Rob game.
There were lots that I liked, but there was just enough that I didn't like that. It just didn't really.
So, what are we expecting from Rob? Like both of you, what's the expectation right now?
This is what I would like to see from Rob. I would like to see them actually look for him other than that damn lob. Because newsflash, every single team they're playing now is looking for him to roll, and they're dropping back to deflect it or contest it. And Rob, as great an athlete as he is, when teams know exactly what you're trying to do, it lessens the likelihood of you doing it. This isn't, we're not talking about, varsity versus freshman. We're talking about grown-ass men in the NBA. It's getting harder for Rob to do the things that came easy, and part of that is because they're not putting in a system where Rob can do other things to score besides catch a lob. They need to find a way to get him involved offensively other than a damn lob.
He did have a catch and finish early in this one that was a step in that direction for me. But I've said that too, Sherrod. Diversifying his offense is going to be important.
He's too predictable right now.
Especially this year where all the circumstances around him aren't helping him get those lob attempts at a high enough rate for this team. Like he should be shooting 8 to 10 shots a game. He often falls under that mark in terms of involvement. But looking at this year, I know we had high expectations from him, especially John, who pictures him as this, I don't know, borderline third piece alongside Jalen and Jason. I think the extra minutes, the sustainability throughout a game where he's making a key play down the stretch there, really the icing bucket from Smart. Rebounding, getting his hands on some misses from Brown down the stretch, a key putback there, just involving himself so much down the stretch. And his defense does go so underrated. They're a much more stable defensive team when he's out there just because of his size and activity in the lane. So he's just been this super productive role player for you. And it all just depends on your expectations for him, I guess. Like if you're expecting him to be this all-star 10-10 Clint Capella level guy, which some people are, some people absolutely love this player, you're short on your expectations. But if you're just expecting him to be a 10-10 guy, he's accomplishing that.
I don't think he's got a comp because he's different than a lot of people. Like there are things he does, like his passing is outstanding. Okay. He has terrific vision. He has great hands, really good. He has some really good sense, and so he does things that your like traditional big doesn't really do. And we've seen a stroke that looks competent.
Not this year.
But I'm saying it doesn't look. You're not looking at it and be like, this is ugly. Why? It's not a hideous looking shot. It looks like something that could develop into a weapon. And so what you're looking for is growth, because last year you saw the first year of him putting it together in a way that was like, this could be something. And man, he makes plays out there. And again, you just talk about it. He cannot be judged the same as other players because what he does when he does it can't be done by any other human. So you can't just stack it as one good play versus one bad play. It's a play that no one else makes at all, so far above not just replacement level, it's above any level because only Rob can make some of these plays versus some things he still needs to work on. So if you stack those with a little bit more consistency across the board, you have a very unique sort of player. That's the thing with Rob. It's not just pretty good. Like, who is doing this? Falling to his left, catch it left-handed, cross-court alley-oop, and dunk it over the back of his head.
He almost had one after that last finish.
Nobody does that. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a zero. Everybody else turns it over, or, well, I mean, he does some stuff that's insane. So the rest of it is just some growth in the more traditional aspects of the game. A post-up move, you know, just a little baby hook or something, being able to catch square. And when they leave you open from the elbow, take that shot. You just want to see progression and those brain farts and those lapses. You just want to see fewer of them. You know, you want to see the butterfingers go away. Sometimes he's fighting the ball still, you know, which I don't get, because then you see him collect a pass in traffic, a bounce pass 2 feet away and put it up. So he
almost killed Evan Fournier. Before Evan Fournier died on the ankle roll, he almost pulled the DeAndre Jordan in transition, flying over his head and just running Fournier over.
So he can do some insane stuff. It's just something, just a little mid-range, a little something to keep it honest.
The diversification. Yeah, Sherrod talked about that. That's the key, because can you throw 20 lobs a game? The defense adjusts. We saw it in the Lakers game. They hedge off these guards and they seal them up there. They'll put a body on him more often, I'd assume, on those lobs. Send him to the free throw line because his free throw shot is not there right now. So these are ways that I think teams in the second year of Rob becoming a known commodity in this league are doing to adjust for his game, because he is a guy I think teams are probably starting to look at now and saying, we actually have to account for this guy. I doubt very few teams were doing that last year, and many were probably caught off guard. I think Jimmy brought up a good point in the chat. I believe it was yesterday too, saying this is probably the most basketball Rob's ever played in his life at this point, right? Consistently in a condensed period here. You know, he's missed so much time through his first 2 years, and we know what the college basketball and whatever he was doing in high school schedules are like. This is a whole different ball game in a COVID 3 games and 4 nights type of thing. So he's probably hitting something of a wall here.
You don't think you could learn a thing or two from Cantor? You don't think Cantor could say, like, hey, look, I have no athletic ability, so here's how you score when you're in close to the basket, you know?
I don't want Ennis teaching Rob anything. Keep him away, especially on the defensive end.
Oh, gosh.
No, you're right. Offensive rebounding, positioning, and all that. But Ennis in this one, dropping rebounds too. What is these guys are in position and it's bouncing right off their hands,
and just missing putback bunnies left and right. But
the
still,
bunnies, yeah.
Ennis must be shooting 40% from the field.
It's unreal too, because these are from a foot away. You know. I mean, they're hard to miss some of these.
I want to see Bruno a little bit in this one. I was bummed we didn't. I thought this was a prime situation to at least see him play. They haven't seen him play at the NBA level yet with this team yet. So I don't know what is preventing him from getting in a game like this, but this was the chance for him, and he certainly did not get that opportunity.
Yeah. You know,
we talked about him in Summer League, looking like a guy who could bring a little energy off the bench, maybe in the third quarter there when things were going wrong. I don't know. Rob was good. Freedom was okay. And I guess that was enough for them at center with the wings around them and all that stuff going on. But none of the G League guy here that they brought in, Justin Jackson, didn't see him. That was pretty much it for the bench, right? I'm just glad they didn't lose this, because the Celtics were thin. The Knicks were like paper thin. They had nowhere to go off the bench once you got by Burks, Fournier, and Kemba. And Randall, what a disaster he is, huh? No show.
Yikes.
Yeah, this was painful.
Massive extension, too. It is panic time in New York. What is it, 8 losses out of 10? They're out of the playoff picture. None of their guys look valuable.
I mean, they clearly played above expectation last year. So I think anyone thinking that they were coming back the same or stronger. Might have been a little bit overly optimistic, but I do wonder, and this is unfair, but you do wonder, like, how, like, if Tibbs has a expiration date and it's really a year, because the Tibbs system is friggin' tough for some of these guys. And he's just the least happy person in the world.
I'm not sure. I know we went, how'd they do Isaiah like that? I really don't think what he did with Kemba went over well. You heard Kenny Smith blasting him. You heard Jamal Crawford.
It's obvious the Knicks players like Kemba, and they didn't like
Everybody
it.
likes Kemba. Doesn't Sherrod say that?
Everybody. They're so happy for him playing well tonight. That's a referendum on Tibbs. That's a commentary on this guy, they were clearly pulling for him, and it was a big moment for him to have a good game. They were psyched for him. So
30 and 3/4. Kemba was aggressive and just sharp in this one. Looked fresh, certainly. Getting downhill. 9 games off will do that.
Yep.
But looks like a guy that teams would want to have off their bench. And I'm sure after seeing this tape here today, a couple teams will be calling, I'm sure, here or there, $8 million a year.
Yeah.
Again, I'd be interested if a pick's coming over.
But his defense is so atrocious, guys. I mean, he's a great scorer, but my goodness. I mean, easy pass all day. Easy pass all day.
Yeah, you're right. Those rotations were like slow motion, quicksand, whether it was him or Randall or Fournier. That's like the big 3 of bad defense in the NBA right now for a starting unit.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Look at that. Even before Kemba got benched, the numbers for that starting unit, I've never seen a starting unit with so underwater in their overall net rating and their defensive rating. Freaking atrocious. Those guys, even when they were starting, Kemba and Fournier, went like 8 games, 10 games without closing. Not playing entire fourth quarters because Tibbs was so upset with their defense. So it was pretty ugly. So again, anybody who's bummed out about the Celtics, just spend a day or two in Knicks fans' shoes. And you'll feel a little better about yourselves. Anyway, as we said, we are going to keep it a little brief, guys. Final thoughts here.
Build off this. I mean, you obviously was far from perfect, but you got the win, and you just need to just keep getting better. That has to be the mindset.
Consistency with this team. We know not to expect it. I think we know it evades them, and we're never going to expect it from them, just in terms of our own expectations. But I thought Brown and Tatum turned the corner in terms of facilitating the last 2 games, and they just went right back to basics in this one. And I think the Knicks in some way trapped them into that with how easy they were to attack one-on-one. Even when the Celtics were blowing it up in the first half there, I didn't feel great about how they were running their offense, and it certainly capsized in the third. And you had Tatum just taking some awful shots down the stretch there. Brown was a little bit better in terms of the passing and finding guys. They both need to be better. And Smart didn't help matters with some of the turnovers. And
Smart looked like he just took tonight off.
Yeah. I think a lot of this was like a snow out game. The seats were empty. Guys were missing shots at the rim, sloppy on the ball both ways.
They're lucky to have won this game. Yeah.
Oh, if they lost this game, we would have went over an hour.
Well, one of the things that's helping us right now is the Patriots are absolutely laying a freaking egg against the Colts.
Scored yet?
No, and Duggar just got ejected.
20 zip now?
Yeah, it's 20 zip. Went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. Duggar and Pittman got in a fight.
John,
what?
You had to talk me out of starting Bourne.
I didn't say. I said nothing. I talked to no one.
I know you had to talk me out.
Oh, I should have.
Yes.
I've never. I would never. I don't use Patriots in fantasy. Where
was this advice earlier?
I don't know. It's just
maybe you'll get a garbage touchdown. We'll see.
The only smart play tonight was Stevenson, and they're down 20-0. They're not going to run the ball again. So it's a bit of a mess. But Pats are getting smoked. I guess one piece of good news: Colts just missed a field goal, so it didn't get worse. But their offense looks terrible right now. Celtics have the Sixers coming in on Monday, so that should be interesting. There's another team that's a mess right now.
Lay it on. start to stake your claim in the East. The Hawks too can't figure out
It
their
is
defense.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy when you look at the Celtics are the eighth spot in the conference right now, tied with the Wizards and the Sixers. And the Hawks are still behind them. So you're not just talking about catching teams. There's teams you expected to be in front of you that are behind you, and the Knicks, of course. But the Knicks might not be what some people thought they were. Wizards look like they're free falling. They won't be there much longer. Philly, you think, is eventually going to right the ship and get themselves okay. But it's a tight Eastern Conference here. So stacking some wins together, especially heading into January where the schedule gets a little bit more favorable, is worthwhile. So see if we can catch the Sixers here. One program note for everybody. Check it out, Patriots Postgame Show on Patriots Press Pass. If you don't subscribe already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Patriots Press Pass. We will be live. Evan Lazar is in Indianapolis. We're going to go live probably 30 minutes after the game. So if you're still up and you're watching it, join us. We'll dissect what went wrong, or we'll talk about this incredible comeback that may or may not happen. We'll see. Anybody hopeful?
No.
Not at all, huh?
I didn't
No.
like this matchup coming into it.
No, not hopeful at all.
Anybody in the chat hopeful?
I don't know if the Colts. I haven't watched I don't know if the Colts are running it on them, but that was my fears that that crack in the Patriots. I feel like right now is the run defense. It's susceptible to getting burnt a little. But you saw in that Tennessee game, right?
They're not getting smoked. They got a block punt for a touchdown. That's one. There was one drive where the Colts really rammed it down their throat, but Max throwing a red zone pick and another pick. So honestly, it's bad. It's
Max meltdown.
Max having a brutal game, and Bill started out kind of out coaching himself a little bit in this one. He was running a lot out of kind of light sets, trying to catch the Colts off balance. They're a fast defense, so they were trying to get to the edge and they weren't able to, so they were not getting anything going on offense. And before they had a chance, that block punt, it was 14-0, and they were just chasing. Now they're one dimensional, and Max throwing, and he's not making good decisions at all. Both of those picks were on him. 1,000%, like 1,000%, baited into one of them, and just another one, just a bad read. So it's on Mac. We'll see what happens. Anyway, check it out if you guys are into it. Head over, Patriots Postgame Show. Thanks to Sherrod and Bobby over there in the garden, always doing good work for us here at CLNS. Make sure you catch up. Sherrod, you got anything written for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, not tomorrow. Weekend, we try to keep the plate fairly clear on the weekends because most folks aren't reading on the weekends.
That's what they say. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. Sorry. Trying to keep up a little football. Anyway, go Pat.
The plate is full over here. We got Tatum, Brown, passing stuff coming. I'm hot on that trail, John.
I know. Do you have the BSJ piece?
BSJ piece is going to be out tomorrow morning. There's a lot of bad to add. It was all good in terms of Brown and Tatum's passing. I'm going to have to go back and add some bad clips in there after this one.
Yeah, as we wanted to talk about, and again, last thing I'll say here before we wrap, this is something we talked about on our chat, how we were just making observations that doesn't seem, this is when Jalen was playing, Jalen and Jason ever passed to each other. And it was just something that's what it looked like to us. And we're like, wow, this is weird. It's like, I swear they don't pass. And Bobby's like, let's go check. And Bobby went back and looked at the tape, and the tape we looked at, they'd passed to each other 3 times. And then another time it was 1 time. And Bobby went back game by game. Prior to Jalen Brown returning, how many times per game did you guys in the chat here think they passed to one another? The answer is 7.
7, 8.
7 or 8 total. Since they came back, it was combined. 31. And then it was 31, and then 24, and then tonight, I don't know. And again, they weren't on the court a ton tonight together, as Sherrod pointed out, so they were a little bit spaced out. But yeah, a little bit of a regression. Yeah.
And it's weird. Udoka wants to do that as well as help them start to play with each other. I feel like you can't have both worlds there, and you have to, I guess, in this one with the rotation being as screwed up as it is. But you got to start to play them together as much as you can, and they did that on Friday well. I thought they did that on Monday well. They barely used Brown bench minutes.
I don't know what they did tonight. It's been much better since Jalen came back, so it's clearly more of an emphasis. It was really not. It was non-existent before.
Oh, yeah. 31 on Monday, 26, and we'll get the numbers on this one, 26 on Friday. So it's way up where it should be.
Yep, exactly. So check that out. Bobby's got that coming up on BSJ. Obviously, you'll have something up on CLNS Media as well. Make sure you follow all of that and head over to Patriots after the game. I'm sniffing a comeback. It's coming.
All right. Let's
Uh-oh.
get Bourne a touchdown.
Let's get Bourne a touchdown for Bobby, okay? Check out the Pats postgame show. Thank you for watching us, guys. We'll be back on the air in a little bit, so we'll talk to you guys then. Thank you.